Well, hold on. Let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Kinnikuman.
He's literally like potty humor in an action figure. He is a urinal with the poo-poo emoji swirly topped on his head like a Dairy Queen cone. So you can just, I mean, they had some fun creating some of these characters. Like, oh, we got 50 more characters to go. Let's toilet paper head, potty humor man, shoelace guy. Yeah, it's just, I can't imagine creating 30 unique characters, let alone 418. And
I run it like a point guard, Justice Curry, the trading toy god. A Skeletor, your bones apart, and Rio blast you from the jump start. King Randor or Bonaparte, it don't matter, they tug at my heart. When I sit back in my chair and check out He-Man, to be like him, I wonder how it would be, man, to go back.
we'll do some different colorways here. That way you get a little better representation of...
And what he's talking about, the colors, the plastic, everything is different from M.U.S.C.L.E.
Correct, yeah. So, and again, it's going to be hard to describe the feeling of this without, it's video. Maybe 20 years from now we'll have Feel-O-Vision or something weird like that on YouTube. But as you can see that, like, this is Warsman and Kinnikuman molded as one character. This is not one of the sculpts that the American markets had.
Yep.
Japan, in their original release in 1983, over the course of a few years, has 418 different sculpts of figures versus our 236. And you can tell, I mean, like, this green is different, this yellow is different. This Ramen that's heavily damaged in his little bandages, they're different. They feel different. They've got more of a, if you ever had like a pink gummy eraser in art class, it has a real squishy feel.
Like a silly putty-esque, but the gum eraser.
Yeah, not really stretchy like a Stretch Armstrong, but you can really like bend these guys up and they'll go back to...
Hard to stand up. Ours, Muscle-Man was very,
harder plastic. There's a difference between the U.S. feel of how these guys feel and when you get a Kinnikuman figure from Japan. You'll also hear these referred to as Keshigomu or Kinkeshi. Keshigomu loosely translates from Japan to eraser-like material. These are more matte, as the U.S. figures have a little bit of a gloss to them.
This might be the only colors that we have.
There's a very unique colorway that Japan has. They don't have real brilliant or flashy colors. I'm a little hard pressed to say that there's not too many other color variations other than what you see in my hand here.
I don't think there's any other color.
And these are standard size. So this is what the regular Muscle-Man or Kinnikuman size. And then if you really want to go down the dark, dirty rabbit hole, there are different sizes. So there's what we call super deformed, which I don't know if we have an example, but they're really big fat head figures with itty bitty little tiny bodies. And then you go to what's called chibi. And chibi...
let's show them.
So Bandai is where these were marketed from. Bandai marketed them to Mattel here in America. But the chibis, you'll find a company called Poppy. Well, I pronounce Poppy, you may pronounce it Poppy, P-O-P-P-Y. So when you look at the trademark on these individuals, they have a Y-S-N-T on the back. And basically what that translates to is that's the artist that created the line of Kinnikuman and basically the production studio that did the manga and all of the art with it. So, okay, here we go. You've collected everything you thought you could collect in America. Now let's talk about the 418 different sculpts in Japan. So we have what we have. This is the original Muscle-Man size here, and then we'll set that next to a chibi. So a chibi will also have the designation on the back for authenticity purposes of YNST, but you may also have a little P with a circle around it, meaning that it's Muscle-Man, but it also, instead of being created by Bandai, was licensed to be produced through Poppy or Popey, again, however you're pronouncing that.
Were these same chibis, the small versions, the exact same mold as they just scaled them down.
Same.
I recognize that as a muscle man. That was a muscle man. So they were Kinnikuman.
Same characters. They're just obviously squished down and scaled down a little bit. You know, they tried to capture the original look and feel, but the chibis are all going to have their own unique little flavor in terms of size and colorway.
What's the deal with this gold one?
Again, well, just like anything that's popular, you're going to have individuals that are going to want to ride that train, and you're going to get copycats, counterfeits, knockoffs, bootlegs, however you want to distinguish them. But in a gold colorway, come on, why not have that? You know what I mean? So you have to really be careful with, if you're, you know, discerning originals from fakes, is that you really want to, if you can zoom in, that YNST. I don't know if you're not going to be able to get macro or micro, but yeah, there is a YNST on here, and then usually there's a circle that has a circle with a B or a circle with a P on it, and that's either going to be you know, the Bandai produced figures or the Poppy produced figures. Right. So then, so we've got a smaller generation of muscle men or Kinnikuman. Now we have a larger generation of Kinnikuman. So we have what are called Deca figures. Right behind you. So we've got Deca, which are this is a character named Brocken Jr. and another character. Again, have the trademark. Probably a little easier to see the YNST on the back of him.
Was YNST the factory that it was made?
It's a collaboration of the numerals or initials of the artist that created the series and the studio that helped produce it.
Oh, okay.
The names I will probably butcher to the day I die about the artists and things like that. But you can see that now you have different sizes and you want to get larger sculptures. So it goes from super deformed to chibi to Kinnikuman to Deca. And then you have what we call Super Deca, which this is Ashuraman, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I mean, just look at a hunk of plastic. If you're into LJN wrestlers or the really big 8-inch rubber wrestlers from the superstar days of the early 80s, then there's even a one line even bigger than this.
What?
So yeah. So you've got Deca, Super Deca, and then there's even one larger than that they command a pretty good coin to get, because they're basically like statue size. I mean, they're pretty darn big. So I mean, you thought you had it all. Yeah. There's so many different pathways to branch off of and go to.
And then you have other pathways to go to, such as the Cosmics.
Correct.
These were from France.
Correct. Yeah.
Foreign seals.
Yeah, so those have a really cool pearlescent sheen.
Yes, I love them.
Yeah, so there's a Grecian or Greek version called Exogeny. And Exogenes come in this really cool, it's a cardboard pyramid that looks like a spaceship, and you don't know what you're getting. Some of those are clear, translucent with different colored glitter inside.
Yeah,
super
I've seen
cool.
Those. I should have.
Yeah, those are Cosmics from France.
Yep.
And what they did is Panache Toys, that did Voltron for us here in America, came out with a line called Ninja Mates, and they were black, yellow, and red, samurai Japan looking ninja characters, and they were either solid black, solid yellow, solid red, but the paint applications on them were white, and then when you turn off the light they glowed in the dark, whatever the case may be. So Cosmics didn't have enough muscle men sculpts to complete a series. So when you get Cosmics, you're also going to get a mix of Ninja Mates mixed in with the Cosmic brand. If you ever find them, they came bagged. They had a little instruction card with them. But on the bag is my favorite character, Sunshine. So this really cool lowbrow street art, graffiti art on the bag. Yep. So if you find some bagged versions, 29 years later after they released, they came out with the anniversary edition figures. And those there, and the anniversary edition figures they came out in these three colors. So you got orange, blue, and white, or flesh colored. And some of these you're really going to be able to see the YNST trademarks on them, because these are relatively brand new sculpts and molds on the back here. They're done in the real rubbery style that Kinnikuman is.
So they sold them in a large set. You weren't trying to buy them 10 at a time, 28 at a time. You bought the
Correct.
whole entire set.
Yeah, there was gashapon. So gashapon means like bubblegum dispensary machines in Japan.
Yep.
So how these came in the multicolors were basically like the bubblegum machine or gashapon machines. To this day, you can still buy a box that say, hey, I want to collect Musclemen, but I don't want to sit there and have bulks of multiples. I just want the figures. Yep. I want to look at them. I don't care what year they're from, etc. The 29th anniversary box set,
yep.
You can get with the DVD collection or without. You'll get all 418 sculpts from Kinnikuman, Muscleman here in America. They're a little out of scale from the originals.
Just slightly smaller.
Slightly smaller, correct. Slightly smaller. And another thing too, depending on how much of a purist you are, if you collect comic books, you're going to want to collect the first print of those comics, correct? Well, on the back of these figures, where the YNST trademark is all in first print, you know, I want second print, third print, and some people just don't care. They just want to have all the sculpts, and you know what I mean, and they're fine with it. So another way for you to get all of the sculpts without breaking the bank, and
well, it is breaking the bank. So some people, it's like $500 to $1,000 sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely gone up since I've been collecting.
Right, we used to be able to get it for
under $300, and that was all 418 sculpts plus the 35 DVDs that came in the set. Now you can get them without the DVD. Now you can get them with the DVD, and if you don't jump on them now, plus they're coming all out of Japan. Shipping isn't getting any cheaper through the U.S. Postal Service or however they're going to ship that stuff. Yep. I watched one yesterday where it was like $400 to buy, but it was like $300 to ship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, and again, whenever you watch this video, the prices may be dated depending on when you discover this video. So don't take my pricing as, you know, as what's going on at the current market. You could watch this 10 years from now and whatever the case may be.
You know what? We have to skip back a little bit. Satan Cross. We forgot to talk about Satan Cross.
How did we forget about that guy?
For the original Muscleman. Because when I'm talking about the claw earlier, you're probably screaming in your head like, what about Satan Cross? What about Satan Cross? So this one has a bit of a unique story, and I'm going to put my very favorite figure right there.
The fox right there.
The light blue fox.
Okay, so we told you that there's 236 figures to collect. Some posters will only reflect 233 figures to collect. Now the reason why we say 236 is because there is a unique figure that comes with the board game.
Yep. If
you bought the rockin' ring, the wrestling ring, there is a Kinnikuman character that comes with that ring that has, it's the same sculpt that you could get versus the 233, but the shape of his belt buckle is oval versus square or square versus oval. There's so much useless knowledge crammed in my head. I can't remember which is which. But to collectors, that is a physical variant that isn't included on the poster.
Yes.
So what we have here now is this. This is one of the 418 Japanese sculpts. Minus the back half. You notice that there's a peg hole on Mr. Satan Cross's back here. And Mr. Satan Cross in Japan would basically have a minotaur rear end. So basically like a horse's style rear end that would plug into the back.
Yep.
Now, it wasn't until the birth of us collectors communicating online that we started to notice that these figures were popping up in North American style. And we're talking about the fit and feel of these figures. Like, who's that guy? Never seen him before. He's not on the poster. What's going on with him? So behold Satan Cross. And Satan Cross, to any collector or completist, is probably going to be your most expensive and hardest figure to come by. He's a four-armed gladiatorial minotaur in Japan, but he's only a two-legged version here.
Roughly $100.
Yeah, correct. Yep. I had to source mine all the way from Australia. A collector out there had it in the North American style of plastic. But yeah, so you know, we started seeing these figures pop up in lots And you know, there's not just one or two, there's multiple out there, and there's so many out there that we are now adopted or considered Satan Cross to be basically an unofficial, official released figure that there's enough of not to go, oops, it was an oops.
Yeah.
Early speculation that he was going to be part of Wave 2, and he was an early like salesman piece. Hey, you like Muscle Man and you like the first set, look at all the wacky characters we're coming out with in season 2 or series 2,
which is the theory of why.
yeah, one of the theories. Salesman samples,
Yes.
I guess is what we're saying.
Sales sample.
Yeah, but there's enough made, and there's enough in the hands of multiple collectors to consider him part of Series 1, Wave 1 release. Because he doesn't, from what I've ever seen, he's never been recolored in any of the Series 2 colors. So he is a Series 1 colorway, flesh-only figure.
Guys, I want to show you again my very favorite figure, and why I'm showing this to you is something unique that I used to do as a kid was to take my dad's gold spray paint and spray paint some of my muscle men to create new colors.
Yeah, that's the Champion Trophy edition.
Right. And then this one, there is an amazing airbrush customizer out in the UK named Matt Walford, which Brock, who's our cameraman, and I utilize to customize some of our He-Man figures. So he literally took his airbrush and put some amazing detail in there I think it's a flesh tone fox guy to kind of as an homage to my leader, my favorite one of all time.
Is that his name, Fox Guy?
That's what I call him, Fox Guy. And he has the little an indentation of Fox written right there.
Yeah, so a lot of those characters are Foxman, Ramen-man, like there's what they are followed by man or man, you know what I mean? After, and it's just, okay, we've named 300 of these guys, we've got 118 more to go. Yeah, that's Doorman. Yeah, that's
Toilet paper man.
That's Foot Guy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about the community, building relationships with people, that Muscle Man Facebook group I belong to, because I lost my original one. I lost him. I've always been looking to reclaim this light blue version of Fox, and he's a little bit rarer than I anticipated, but I put a post on that Muscle Man Facebook group that said, anybody have him? I'll buy him, I'll trade you, I'll give you 5 figures for just him. And I didn't get any feedback. No one had him until Tim, the moderator, the creator of the group, he started going on a journey for me looking for this, and he found it on some Etsy group, like a bundle of 5 figures with this one for like $12 or some crap. So I bought it, and I'm like, thank you, Tim. He took 10, 15 minutes, half hour of his own time looking for this one figure for me because he knew how important it was.
Yeah, we talked about this toilet paper man. They're just kind of running out of ideas.
Yeah.
This figure is a urinal,
Yes,
and the top of his head is like the poo emoji.
Yeah.
So his name is like Bikuman or Binkuman, or you can look it up. But he's literally like potty humor in an action figure. He is a urinal with the poo poo emoji swirly topped on his head like a Dairy Queen cone. So you can just, I mean. They had some fun creating some of these characters. Like, we got 50 more characters to go. Let's toilet paper head, potty humor man, shoelace guy. Yeah, it's just, I can't imagine creating 30 unique characters, let alone 418. And there's like a fan fiction website they're up to almost 500 figures now, or 500 characters throughout. Because not everybody in the comic or manga, there might have been a flash of a character in the background, but never made it to character form.
Right.
So a lot of those people have then started to identify those characters that have never had a figure, and are bringing them into the mythos or the storyline of the, and I'm sure and there's other lines there where like, that guy was just background fodder and died in the first episode.
They did that with
Classics for Mo2.
Yeah.
Master Universe.
So there's 418 original sculpts that have names and figures, but there's almost close to 500 now of people picking things out of the comics or the cartoons and going, like the last one that I remember seeing was like number 485, and he was like a crossing guard arm or like a stoplight. His head was like a stoplight, or like a railroad crossing, like gator or something like that. They just really take any type of inanimate object and go, yeah, he can become a wrestler. He's train guard man or whatever the case may be. So there could be potentially, you know, with things progressing forward, more figures to collect outside of the original vintage line. So.
And with the popularity of Muscle-Man, other companies were like, hey, we want to make a buck too. So there were some bootleg versions that also came out, which we'll show you some of them right here. Future Man.
Future Man made. These are Taiwanese. So you look at the flashing. Like you can tell, like that's Mystery Partner, that's Ramen Man. There's a Sunshine, but you could just see how they didn't care. They popped them out of the mold. This bag, you could see,
cheaply made.
Yeah, you can sneeze on this bag and like it break apart. Yeah, a cellophane bag. I mean, good on them for the header art, the cart art. I mean, that's pretty rad. I like that, the simplicity of it. But you're gonna get, like, if you buy bulk lots, especially from overseas. I'm not saying everything you're gonna get is gonna be bootleg, but you're gonna get a lot of mix of, you know, people jumping on the bandwagon and you know, I mean, you know, these things even today. I'm not saying they're being bootleg today, but you know, everybody wants to get in, grab that cash cow when, you know, like a flash in the fire. Oh, Muscle Man's hot. You know, what can we do to ride that train to get kids to buy our product because they don't know the difference between real and fake or knockoff products.
Some more bootlegs that are probably made in some guy's garage. I got these from Robert Bruce. You'll recognize his name from Comic Book Men. He's kind of like my toy mentor when I was getting back into the hobby. I'm like, I want to be that dude when I grow up. But I purchased these off of him. He didn't know the backstory too hard, but these are like super hard plastic. Again, probably a guy
like Mark's Army Men or Mark's like vintage, like the Army Men cowboy stuff.
Yep, someone just put you know, the original Muscle Man, made a mold, the reverse mold, and you know, popping out these things and selling them.
If you're into battle beasts, there's Mexican or Central American battle beasts that are like that. They're just solidly posed.
I got one over there.
Yeah, I think was it pink? It probably came from me.
I think so. Yeah. What are these guys?
Yeah, so these are Muscle Mania. So basically, it's a way, officially licensed product made in the U.S. So again, somebody saw how quick Mattel was selling these products. We need to get on the bandwagon and start our own little thing. So Muscle Mania is basically an homage. You can see that that character's name is Geronimo or Geronimo Man. Super similar. I mean, you know, that looks like Sneegator. That's definitely a Sneegator knockoff. That's definitely a Geronimo knockoff. You know, the guy with the faux hawk here is definitely a Kinnikuman style spin-off or rip-off. But what they say that, okay, these are all the different sculptures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 12 sculpts. Over 100 different figures. Well, what they're doing is they're telling you that each character comes in different colorways, plus each character comes in either hard plastic or stretchy rubber. And I'll have you hold on to that. And I think there's a couple examples. Right here. Yep. Now, so here, okay, so you've got.
Also, if you see this T-shirt, I got it. There's a guy, I can't remember his name right offhand, but I'll put a link in the description. He was on that Muscle Man Facebook group selling these T-shirts for incredibly cheap. So if you want to get a T-shirt, I'll put a link how to get one.
So this has a little bit of flex, but if you could feel this, semi-malleable, pretty hard. Okay, not hard, but pretty stiff, I guess is what I want to call it. So this character would have come in all the different colorways in this molded rubber. I'll pass him off to Justice, and then you have this guy who's extremely stretchy. Very similar to like you know, those of you that are old enough, like the wacky wall crawlers from back in the day.
I got one by the light switch.
Has like a snotty, sticky consistency. Where if you've ever opened up one of those toys where they You ever open up a toy where you like stick it in water over 5 days and they grow like 10 times its normal size? It has that gross, weird feel to it. So what they did is there's 12 figures to collect, but each figure came in every color, hard, and every color in its super stretchy, elastic. So over 100 figures. You're like, I keep getting the same 4 guys. What the hell's going on? So super misrepresented, or misrepresentation of there's 100 different figures. Well, there's 12, but you can collect. This is the guy that'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a cheeseburger today. Like beef from like Popeye or something like that.
Making the most from
wimpy man. Yeah, correct. Yeah. But not necessarily a bootleg. I mean, that's just another company trying to capitalize on the success and popularity of how well this stuff sold. And then you go, okay, well, let's get into the electronic art world. This, for those of you who don't know, this is a Famicom disk system. So this actually predates what we had as the Nintendo Entertainment System. Back in the I think 85, 86 is when our NES came out during that video game crash of North America. Blame Atari, blame somebody else, whatever the case may be for inferior product. But this is a Famicom disk system, which those of us that are old enough for like the 3 3/4 inch floppy disks, and that's exactly what it is. It's a floppy disk that has an A and a B side. And for anti-piracy purposes, this molded Nintendo here has different layers of depth to it, that when you inserted it and clicked it into the system, if it didn't have that certain keyway, it wouldn't play or wouldn't register in there. Yeah, so this is basically anti-piracy like technology built into this disc. But if you've played it for the North American system, it's the same version as the disc system. It just has way cooler artwork. Instead of having that like body splash pose that we told you on the 28 packs, has more in different characters, part of the mythos and mythology of those characters. There's an NES version, there's a Super NES version. There's a really, really good Nintendo GameCube version of Ultimate Muscle.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
I got it.
These are a little lackluster because it's pretty much just like punch kick, tag team style, just like any early wrestling Nintendo game. But as they progress into like the GameCube era, the GameCube game, if you like Tekken and you like wrestling game, it's kind of like they took fighting and wrestling and mashed them together. Really cool game if you collect video games. Check out the Muscle Man. It's Ultimate Muscle, so it's like the second generation of his kid coming up into the world.
Yep.
So the Ultimate Muscle version for GameCube, I highly recommend checking it out if you don't already have it.
Now, what is this? I kind of alluded to it before. I can't read any of this. I have to.
Yeah, and again, these are like. So you have like a serial of authenticity here. So this is obviously means something that these aren't knockoffs, repaints. When we got into the Ultimate Muscle phase, Ultimate Muscle is basically like the second generation of kids from this lineup. This is Wolfsman and like Kinnikuman, King Kinnikuman, King Muscle. But when they did anniversaries, like in the Ultimate Muscle line, when those came out in America, they came monochromatic or they came fully painted.
Yeah.
So, and again, there is a store in Japan, and I've never been to Japan, but I want to super bad. There's a store called the Mandrake store that's there that sells, you can buy, there's a life-size statue of Kinnikuman that you can buy, and if you want to pay for shipping, there's just so many things newer outside the realm of what I'm used to in vintage.
Yep.
Like I would literally have a meltdown if I walked into one of those stores just dedicated to like Muscle Man or anything monochromatic, and I would just implode because I'd be like, I don't know what's real, what's not real, what's new, what's old, just because they're still pumping this stuff out today. The creators of the comic line are still alive and well today. They do collaborations with clothing stores and other artists, and it's unreal.
And we're going to go off the rails a little bit and talk about the modern adaptations. Some might call them customs, but it's revitalizing the line. And I really want to show you the Super 7 stuff in a minute.
Yep, these were recast from the Imperfect Toys. Imperfects. Basically, what had happened is Muscle Man kind of grew its own legs, and everyone was kind of tired of that particular line. the creators introduced another cartoon series called Scrap, and basically took the mythos of muscle men, but I think they were more of like superhero style type figures, and that line just totally fell on its face.
Yeah.
Muscle men, yay! Scrap, what? So those original figures are as the rare as hen's teeth, as my dad would call it. So Imperfect Toys was lucky enough to take some of the original characters and then mold them for, and then he was doing them in blind bags.
So you get the same one over and
correct,
over
but
again.
yeah, I was throughout the years of being involved in LittleRubberGuys.com that I had reached out to him and said, you know, I know you're casting these, but I know you're doing blind bags, but when you send me my blind bags, could you just send me the full set without having to buy the different sets? So these are figures that really exist in the world, just recast, and they're in a different material than what they originally were produced in. But you can see the flavor and the styling is muscle all the way, but it has a little bit more of a robotic, futuristic, like he almost looks like Barlog from like Street Fighter and things like that. But yeah, this really was like a continuation or adaptation of like that series that just didn't do really well. But instead of paying, you know, astronomical amount of money for the original stuff, some artists do have licensing agreements and rights to recast. Not selling them as the originals, obviously, but just to get those sculptures that I would probably never be able to afford in the hands of collectors, you know, through those different communities. So a big shout out to all the guys from the Little Rubber Guys community that are, you know, getting permission to do these and moving forward with getting them in the hands of collectors that appreciate them. So,
all right, Brock didn't expect this, but I'm going to record Brock for a moment. And Brock, show me what you purchased many years ago, and then I traded or bought from you.
The OMFG figures.
What does OMFG stand for, Brock?
That's a great question. Like outlandish minifigure guys.
Oh.
Yeah, these came out 2010, 12-ish.
yeah, super early. Like this is wave one.
Yeah.
Box and card here. So basically, like LittleRubberGuys.com here. Each adaptation or each version came out with their own color. So if you were a LittleRubberGuys.com, fan, you got those characters in green. If you wanted to support the channel of University of M.U.S.C.Le's characters, they were the same sculpts, they just had a different colorway in.
So he's talking about the different colors and the variations.
Yep. So this is, like I said, this was the packaging for the University of M.U.S.C.L E. So those characters would have been molded in yellow instead of green.
So all these are the exact same ones, but Brock, being a completist, wanted to have versions in every single color. And they did the same kind of playbook as M.U.S.C.L.E. and came out with the trash cans. Are any of those trash cans open?
No.
No, all of them are still sealed.
The blister cards are series 1, I think the cans are series 2, and each one has a different sculpt.
And the molds are pretty darn neat. I have one that I opened up earlier. There's some super creepy ones.
There's an outhouse. There's an outhouse, there's a castle, there's like a crab guy. And what's neat about those is that like certain artists from those websites all created or sculpted a different character. So not one person did all of those toys. It was like I created one that people liked, you created one that somebody liked. So it's basically, you know, they're all being sold together, but they're all highlights from somebody else's like sculpting ability.
Right.
Some other interesting ones that I've picked up over the years. Can you hold that? What does that say? What is it? Homage to Breaking Bad, which is. Any of you guys watch Breaking Bad?
You know what? That is a series that I haven't even seen a single episode.
Oh man, you would get hooked. So, what's the main character's Mr.
Walter White.
Walter White. He had the glasses. He had the hat. And then he sold the blue crystal meth in there. So they took the Rock character from Muscle Men, Added the hat and the glasses, and then
It's a Walter White meth edition.
right, and it came in this little thing that I got from Tardy's Collectibles in Grand Rapids. It's a neat comic and toy place, Grand Rapids, Michigan, if you guys want to check it out. So we'll continue on with some of the different variations.
But again, that just goes to show you that the influence that those toys had eons ago. People take like sculpting putty and wiring and go, I'm going to create my own guys. Obviously, the OMFG line is homage to that,
and it even goes crazy,
super crazy. Yep. So Super 7.
Just leave it up there. Just go ahead and talk about it.
Yep.
Right. So Super 7 does that stuff now.
Yep. Check out Super 7's website. Many of these are still available. They've clearance some of them out at the Five Belows, like the Muscle WWF figures. They're smart too.
There's a it's some of the 5 and below places. There's a Street Sharks, which you have up there.
Yep.
And then the WWF wrestlers are exclusive to some of those places.
So all the lines, they're basically taking, let's see, the Worst, which I don't even know what the Worst is. That's the only one I don't know.
Worst is their own little creation.
Yeah, like
Super
horror
7,
monsters, it's their adaptation of like mutants and monsters, and and they just kind of kit bashed them. So if you're into aliens, there's Mega Man, Masters of the Universe. There's blind bags, and some of the blind bags have I collected the Masters of the Universe line in the blind bags because they have exclusive glow-in-the-dark figures.
Yes.
That are exclusive to the blind bags versus the other ones.
So the Masters of the Universe, they're a little harder plastic than the originals, but there's multiple variations.
You've got original Kinnikuman, mystery partner here, and Skeletor. But I mean, displayed together absolutely perfectly with each other.
They also did trash cans, right?
They did trash cans right here.
PowerCon exclusives.
Yeah, PowerCon, which is the Comic-Con. So they would be this translucent, you can't even see inside of it. I opened one, I got it laying around someplace.
It's just a translucent green
slime, and then the multicolors. But like anything, variants are key, and for completist collectors, you go, well, I want the PowerCon exclusive. We showed you the Thug Buster, the 28 packs. Well, they did the same thing for Muscle Man and had Master Universe. But this was the PowerCon exclusive because
it
had to be green.
Figures,
It was yellow.
It was yellow before.
Yeah.
And then there's multiple series with multiple different characters. But I just love how the line is still revitalized. Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. They made Street Fighter Muscle Men. And they only put 3 figures in there instead of the 4. Kind of make the figures larger, or maybe it was just a pricing type thing. I have no idea. But Street Sharks again. There's some larger ones that they did with accessories,
the
vehicles. And then there was 2 versions of this,
colors.
A purple one, and they made the figures a little bit different as well. So, collectors are gonna go, I want that, I want that.
Let's get that. That green figure here that he's showing is what we call the Black Hole Sunshine. He has a rubber peg. So imagine getting this toy in a gashapon or a capsule.
But I think we're kind of winding down to showing. Is there anything else that we need to mention beforehand?
I don't know. There's enough information, or people are going to have to rewind and backtrack and go, "What did he say?" What?
Right.
And again, I don't take everything with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of information that was passed down to me through research, and I may be pronouncing things totally wrong. So, I'm sure there's going to be comments down below like he mispronounced that, or that's
Who doesn't know what he's talking about?
That's not that guy's real name. There's so many different paths to branch down. The vintage stuff is where my flavor is. I know about a lot of the new stuff. I support a lot of the new stuff because I want this stuff to continue on for generations to come.
Yep.
As long as the interest is there for the collectors. And I know getting burnt out with, I gotta buy this month and I gotta buy that month, it gets a little stale, and I understand that. But I think that there's enough flavor of doing like Muscle Men, if you like aliens. I mean, there's enough variety out there. If you don't want to collect it all, great. But there's enough out there to grab enough of your attention on what you like to collect.
Absolutely.
That it's definitely gonna interest you in collecting something. And again, the footprint for collecting this stuff. You can get out of hand. We went over 5 or 6 totes. But, I mean, you know, you can display thousands of them. If all you have is a curio cabinet or some kind of cabinet like this, you can thousands on top of thousands on top of thousands of those figures can be displayed in a small footprint. So, 418 sculpts to collect in Japan, 236 here in America, and there's offshoots to all that you can collect, anniversary editions and collector's editions.
Gumball versions, and I wanted to show this before I forgot. This was original from my childhood, but they took a Kinnikuman, not a Muscle-Man mold, and then put them in U.S. gumball machines, and you know, squished them in there because it was a little more pliable. And I remember getting this as a kid going, oh my gosh, it's the same scale and everything. And none of us knew what Kinnikuman was. There wasn't the resources online. But once the late 90s and the age of the internet started, I remember forum boards being on there. And that's how I was able to collect and get a full run of Muscle-Men, was saying, hey, these are all the extras I have, these are the ones I need. And then it turned into a trading game where someone goes, hey, I have 5 of those that you need. Do you have, and I already would post the list of my extras, and they go, I need these 5. And then we just do the honor system. You know, first class post, I would ship it to him, he'd ship it to me, and then I would have a notepad and write down until I had that. I remember my old man, my dad, because I did this in high school, getting the full run. And he's like, what are you collecting, toy? Get outside. Come on, we need to be working on engines. What are you, some kind of wussy playing with toys? I'm like, Dad, these make me happy.
Can you imagine, to the surprise of, you know, people that, you know, may have immigrated to America, had a box full of Kinnikuman, the Japanese sculpts from Japan, came here maybe in the 90s or maybe late 80s when those came out in 83, and had a box of them, and I'm going, this isn't this. What? Yeah, I don't have this guy. Where'd you get this guy? Where'd you get that guy? They're like, oh man, that's just what I got years ago. And then just, you know, mind blown. I'm gonna go search. You know, like back in the day, there was a store called Venture that I bought toys with. You know, Toys R Us, Kids Palace, looking for those on the blister cards and being frustrated, going, I can't find these ones because they don't exist here. They're Japanese instead of American. And he didn't know the difference back then of you know, toys that were imported or, you know, exclusive to this country and not to us, and those type of things. So.
Well, thanks, Jason, for coming here, telling me, doing a knowledge bomb. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for Brock, and we're out of here. Do we have some of them in there?
Yep.
Let's go show them. So Eric Nilla kind of did his own designs. Make sure you capture the gumball machine filled with Muscle-Men, Kinnikuman, modern adaptations of Heman and Muscle-Man, Kit Bash type stuff.
So one of the things that he did, and we'll have to hunt it, if we can hunt it down, we'll find it. But he also did the Sneegator character in the claw form, and what he did was he was selling these as translucents. And what was cool, if you held it up to the light, he actually molded original flesh Muscle-Men figures inside what we call Deca size characters, and we'll get into Deca here in a second. And so it was Sneegator eating or ingesting other Muscle-Men figures, and you could see actually molded inside the hand. And I picked this up from Eric, and then passed it on to Justin through some trade deals, and super cool piece. So we'll try to find that for you. And I said the term Deca. And
featuring Mr. Bubbleman. He comes out of the blue corner. He's gonna rock him. He's gonna sack him. He's powerful. Oh no! Mr. Bubbleman. You are gonna fall. Oh my goodness. Alright, let me help you out of this thing. Kick him off. You silly Billy. Alright, almost done with the tour. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Alright, watch out, don't step on anything.